So I know it's been a while. I think I'm coming up on exactly a month since I was on any form of social media. The most I've done is Twitter, and I'll keep up with Facebook. I will download Instagram every once in a while to check DMs, just make sure I'm not missing anything, especially client related. But a lot's happened in this month, and you know, when you see people post that they're gonna do some kind of series, they're like, I'm gonna do this summer vlog series like what I did, or literally whatever, and then they fall out, you know, you're just like, oh, you got lazy, or you're doing what everybody else does. You say that you're gonna do something and then you don't. That didn't exactly happen to me. There are a lot of reasons why I stopped, and a lot of that was mental health. And so I wanted to take the time to explain it to you guys. I didn't want to just write it out in a blog post. There's a lot to it, so this is going to be long. So for those of you who want to continue watching, please do. There's no pressure to. But I also knew that it wasn't going to fit in a caption. So plus I miss doing this, and I'm trying to get back into it. So I kind of need to take a couple steps back, explain some things, and I'll get into where I've been. So I have struggled with depression and anxiety for the last, I mean, technically probably since high school, I'm sure, but it's been really bad since freshman year of college. I'm about to become a senior, technically a senior in college. A lot of ups and downs. I was in therapy for 2 years. Last time I saw my therapist was back in April, and so I thought I was okay. I was in a pretty decent place. Was pushing myself with photography stuff, especially when the camera got stolen. And I just felt this like rush of energy and passion come over me that I'd never felt before. When the summer hit and everybody went home, or my roommate moved out, so it was really just me at the apartment. Some people were traveling. I didn't have a lot of people. For a while I was okay, but I am an extrovert, and so I thrive off being around people. And also another way that I self-medicated for 2 years, especially through being in therapy, was being around people constantly. So the school year was typically better for me because I was around people and I didn't have to worry and overthink things. But being by yourself for so long, I was stuck in my head for a really long time. And so I'd spend days at the apartment not seeing anybody, sometimes not saying anything to anyone. I stopped running, which I was already struggling getting back into running because of some injuries from the spring. And I hadn't felt the depression this bad since freshman year when I had to come home from my old college. So having everything come back up, especially after 2 years of processing through that and creating better habits where I wasn't doing the things that I would do out of the depression and anxiety, was really concerning. Like I would stay awake until 2 and 3 a.m. scrolling on Instagram mindlessly, just like I would do when I was at MTSU. The biggest indicator that something wasn't okay was a couple of days I literally just sat on the couch for 12 hours straight watching Netflix. And I know that that's not a problem for some people. No judgment if you do that or enjoy doing that. I don't like doing that, and that was something that I would do when I was at the other college out of a place of like not laziness, but just complete lethargy and apathy. I lost all motivation to shoot, all desire to shoot, which I do believe there's a difference between like, you know, having your passion, like running forward with things, you know, maybe getting lazy and then you have to get back into it, versus having just all desire taken away to do anything. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to get out of the apartment. Was not keeping stuff clean, which is another thing that's really big for me, because like keeping my space clean is important. And ironically, I kept my bedroom clean through that entire time. That's like a part of my self-care, is like keeping this space clean, but I let the living room get really bad because it was just me. So all that being said, wasn't feeding myself super well. Wound up going home for a week and a half with my family in the middle of June. It was kind of right after my Nashville trip. And I didn't move from the couch for a week and a half, which if you know me, you know that that's insane, because I thrive off being active. I get super antsy if I sit for too long. Like I need to be walking, hiking, running, whatever, at least like going to class and knowing that I'm not just sitting the whole time. And I care about my body, I care about what I put in my body. And something that I saw when I was at home was turning to food as like a source of filling this void that was inside of me. And that's not normally something I do. In all honesty, I've actually struggled with my relationship with food. That's something I would love to go into more in a different video and in a much different format. But just understand that I started seeing other patterns emerging with how I just like constantly snack and eating even if I wasn't hungry, especially eating ice cream and chips and things that I don't keep in the apartment, things that I don't really enjoy eating on a regular basis. So it was bad, all that being said. So my parents and I had a couple of conversations, and they wound up driving me back to Kennesaw one of the days. We were going to look at apartments, but we went to a doctor first. And I started medication, which I have been against medication for the last 2 years, even when I was meeting with my therapist, because I didn't want anything in my body to change. I was afraid that medication would mess me up. I had seen the effects it had had on other friends of mine, like people who maybe struggle with bipolar disorder or already suicidal thoughts, and they go on the medication and it's worse. And I remember telling my therapist multiple times, even after her saying, you have these two things that are prohibiting you from living life to the fullest. And my response being, I don't want to do that. I'm afraid of doing that. Like, that's not for me. And I remember my therapist's response being, then you're gonna have to fight extra hard to take care of yourself and make sure that you stay consistent. And I did that okay during school, but the summer just threw me off with routine, and I was having such a hard time getting back on my feet that it's like you get knocked down. And it wasn't even that I felt like I was getting knocked down multiple times, I just got knocked out and I was just laying on the ground. So I cried as I took the first pill. I took it in my mom's car, and we were waiting to get out and go talk with one of the apartment complexes, and I, kind of held it in my hand for a little bit and just looked at it like, I never wanted to come to this point, and that there's absolutely no shame in taking medication. But in that moment, it was like, I'm just really afraid of how this could affect me. I could definitely tell the first few days that I was taking something. I felt kind of spacey. I was like, I feel weird, not bad, not numb necessarily, but I was like, I don't fully feel myself. I felt very quiet. And it got to like the 1 week marker, and I started seeing some good things. My mom was like, I can already tell a difference in how you're acting, how you talk. It's like so much more positive again. And I'm on day 17 of being on the medication. I was like, I'm keeping track. I've been journaling every day, like the effects I've seen, like how I feel. And I feel so good. Like, I wish you could see side by side where I was at a month ago compared to now. And I still struggle with the motivation for the photography stuff. I haven't gone down and shoot all summer. I miss doing the video stuff, but I still don't feel fully ready to get back into the photography and film. I'm doing some side project stuff for just like working for clients, and I'm still shooting at churches. But I think I worked myself so hard. And not that hard work is bad, but I pushed myself so hard that I just kind of like hit a wall and collapsed. And I do that a lot because I get really ambitious. I get very excited, and I also get like really competitive. I like a challenge, and I also like will look at people who are better than me, and I'm like, I want to be at that level, so I'm going to push myself. Not always a bad thing, but for me, especially before I was on medication, I didn't know how to balance that. And that's the one thing that I've seen since being on medication is I feel balanced. Friends have told me like when they're around me, like there's like a glow to my face now. Like there's this sense of measured atmosphere that they didn't feel before. One of my friends, I went down to bring him up to my apartment, and we were hanging out for the day. And even before I like gave him a hug, I'm opening the door, hadn't even said anything. It's like I knew something was different. You just carried yourself differently. So that was super cool. I've seen, different situations that would have made me super anxious and spiraled, and I haven't. I still feel the anxiety, and the doctors, like, description of the medication is you could be studying for a really big test and you could still feel the stress, or you still will feel the stress, but it's like there's a ceiling and a floor. So, you know, some downsides to medication, which I don't know what you're on, if you're on any medication or what you've heard about medications, is that it either numbs you or you don't really feel anything at all. I haven't felt that way, and it being 2.5 weeks into this process, like, that's good because nothing has like massively shifted yet, and still keeping an eye on it. But she said that as it starts kicking in, like, the depression will go down, the anxiety will level out as well, and it's just like bringing these two together, where you get the motivation back for things, where I don't nitpick about things the way I did, where things that would make me spiral don't. So it's been extremely positive. One of the downsides is that I yawn a lot, which is extremely funny. Anyway, all of that to say, I'm doing a lot better. I'm not quite ready to come back to social media yet, which is why I wanted to release this. So you know I am still alive, I am okay, I'm doing so much better. I have things I can post, so it's not even like a lack of like total content, but I want to be sure I'm grounded for this coming year. Senior year is extremely important to me. I'm moving next week, so I'm going to a new apartment and I have new roommates, and you know, you're going through that process of like cutting out people that you need to, and like having conversations that you need to, all really, really good things. And I'm not ready to let social media back into that until I know I can have this healthy relationship with Instagram again, the way I had back in the spring, where I was using it for my business and not just sitting on it. So I love you all so very much. Thank you so much for supporting me, for contributing to my camera. Like, I'm serious, even just looking at this camera, like, despite being up and down through the summer, like, I look at it and I see all of you guys. This is like a collective thing. I'm still here. I'm still fighting. So thank you guys so much. Stay brave.